This is one of those days that people I know look forward to on a monthly basis. A lot of people, and we've talked about this before, since we live in the great outdoors already, they like to enjoy it and they like to have some recreation in it, and it's a great place for hunting and fishing. And that's why Kelton Hatch drops by on the usually the fourth Thursday or something like that, every fourth Thursday, or we find one Thursday in the month, and he comes by from Idaho Fish and Game and has a conversation with us. But he also takes your telephone calls as well, and he is one of our more organized guests. This is because, of course, he grew up in that Wyoming area, and they have everything. They're meticulous about that.
Oh yeah, over there on that Idaho-Wyoming border. Yeah, we're really concerned. We just keep numbers on our cattle. So,
What was that with Foghorn Leghorn, where he gets his feathers blown off, and he
yeah.
says, "Fortunately, I keep my feathers numbered."
Yes, that's right. So you know where to put them. So.
You've got a lot going on, and of course, we want to mention for people listening, if you're a newcomer to the area, News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com means you can hear us online anywhere all over the world. And of course, the show is Top Story, and my name is Bill Colley. Uh, right off the top, the last time you were here, you were mentioning the upcoming hunting seasons, and we're going full throttle pretty soon
Oh
here.
well, we're in the heat of the archery season right now. Things have just been going tremendous. We started archery season at the end of last month, and so it's been going for the last 17 days. Um, we've had some just incredible animals harvested this year. Lots of good reports coming from the field, and so it's just it's a lot of fun this weekend. Sharp sage-grouse season opens, and we've got chuckers and Hungarian partridges for upland game birds will be opening on Saturday, as well as the sage grouse, and then you've got some rifle pronghorn hunts that'll be starting later in the month, and we've just got a lot of stuff going right now.
If you're a hunter this time of year, I mean,
It's Christmas.
it's a variety too. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, every week you basically gotta have something else starting. I was going to tell you we've talked about moose a few times in here. We actually implemented a brand new moose hunt. The commission was able to get that through this last year. We had one permit for down south, and then we have these tags that are called super hunts, or they allow people to harvest the game animal that they draw the tag from in any open unit. And so the commission was kind of concerned because this is a brand new unit. Been a lot of talk about the size of bulls down there. So instead of putting two tags, which the unit could easily hold, or three, they ended up just putting one because they're afraid these super tags. Well, we may have two new state records. There has been three just monster moose that were harvested down there. I mean, talking 50 inches wide, big paddles. The one was harvested with a bow, the other two with rifles, and we could have a couple new state records the way it's looking.
That's a lot of meat too.
Oh, it is. It's incredible. I mean, I love moose. Have you ever eaten it?
No, no.
It's it's leaner than beef. It's a little darker. It's got more flavor. I mean, it's got a different flavor, but moose meat is really good. A lot of our grind we've turned into sausage before when we've had moose, or just into regular hamburgers and eat hamburger patties. But it's one of the milder meats. It's really good. It can get a little chewy if you don't. He gets a little too old sometimes, or if he gets old enough, I think it actually starts getting a little tender again. But it's that's my favorite thing. I mean, this is our hunting and gathering time of year. Get out there and put some meat in the freezer.
And that Christmas comparison is great because you pointed out the variety. You go out one week, and then a few days later, you never get bored because you're doing something different.
Well, yeah, and that's the neat thing about it. I mean, I enjoy bird hunting, and I try to, I went out and got a few ruffed grouse last week, which is a really light colored meat, and then we'll be hunting chuckers and sage grouse, and the sage grouse is a lot darker meat, but it's nice because over the winter months you can. Well, maybe I'll have a little sage grouse tonight, or maybe I'll have some sharptail or some chucker, and every piece of it's a little bit different. And then we'll go up and we'll put a few days in deer hunting because we love to have some venison in the freezer. And so it's just a great time of year. And I mean, if people are actually thinking about getting out, they haven't been out hunting. for a while or something like that, this is a really good year to go out. Deer numbers are looking at to be 30% higher than they have over the last 5 years. We've had just a tremendous growth in the deer populations around here. Elk numbers are up, and we've had some really nice animals harvested if people are looking more for antlers, but there's just a lot of game out there this year for folks.
Kelton Hatch is our guest in the studio from Idaho Fish and Game, and he's here for pretty much the hour. If you have a comment or question for him, too, as well, you can reach us at 736-0300. That is 736-0300, 912-54. Looks like we're going to warm up into the low 60s before the day is over, but a really dry and warm weekend is on the way. And Kelton, you have your first caller of the day.
Rock on. I love calls. It kind of gives us to be able to talk to what the people want to hear about.
That's absolutely right. And here we go. We have a caller with us on air. Good morning.
Hello. Kelvin.
Yes.
Hey, you said that you guys had decided that the South Hills would support one elk tag, or a moose tag, but then you harvested 3. I don't understand how that works.
Well, we felt that it could handle the harvest of 3 or more moose up in there, but we knew that we had these super tags that were going to come out, and there was a concern that people would come here and harvest them on these super tags. And so that's why we dropped it back to 1. I may have misspoken when I said it, because that's what I was meaning to say. We've got a really strong moose population up there. I've been up there, and in a given day, I've just driving around, not even getting out and glassing, just up talking to folks, in the middle of hunting season. I drove around and ran into or saw 6 different bull moose in one day, and we feel that we've got a really strong moose population up there. We're starting to see moose come down into the valleys, but that's why we should have probably, right next door to us over in 55 over by Burley, we actually have 5 or 6 bull tags in that area. Our population's very similar in 54 down here in the South Hills. However, we were really concerned about the super tags coming over here and removing extras, and so that's why I was a little bit cautious this first year. I would assume in the next couple of years we'll probably increase the number of tags in 54, just because we do have a good strong population, and that the first few years with the super tags and the hunters down there will probably take a few of those bigger bulls, and so it won't be such a target area for everybody to come to from now on.
Okay, now another question I have for you is, how do you feel about the safety of the hunters where you're having rifle tags at the same time you're having the people out there with the archery tags?
I don't like it, but it's one of those things where we really battle with that every year, because we've got right now, just for folks that I can tell that you study the regs and you're probably a pretty avid hunter. It's one of those things that we battle with every year. Right now we've got some depredation tags, or we have the South Hills elk tag that covers within private property or up to Forest Service land, and people are hunting elk with high-powered rifles in that area. And then we have archery still going on, and then we've got moose tags with that are rifle. And we're hoping that 1 or 2 or 3 folks up there hunting the moose aren't going to have an impact on our deer hunters and things like that. But there's just so many things that are going on. It's really hard for us to balance. And we take this to the public and we scope it. And I mean, we put a lot of time into this, and I wish there's some other way that we can do it. There probably is. We just haven't thought of it. So if you come up with a good idea on how we can manage those numbers down there, please bring them to our public meetings, because we'll be having those public meetings later on in December and January. But no, it's something that we as a staff, we talk about every year, and it is very concerning, especially on the elk tags, because we do have some archery elk hunters that will be down in the lowlands, and we've had some conflicts. But I've ran into this also over in eastern Idaho. I grew up over there, and I had a buddy that was out hunting elk, and out on the reservation rifle season for the Fort Hall folks out there. They can start hunting in June with rifles, and we've had some incidences with them too. But hopefully everybody's just really cautious, knows what's behind their shot, And our biggest issue is just people being polite and kind to each other out there instead of just.
Right. Yeah, because it's going on in the Pioneer unit too.
It is. It is. It's in
Uh,
the Pioneer. It's almost in every unit in the state right now. But we've got commodities are high. These elk like candy, and candy is the crops the farmers raise, and
right.
so we kind of get in order to keep from getting depredation. For folks to understand, if elk come down into cornfields and they destroy corn, we as a department have to go in there and we pay that farmer back for the loss of their commodities with sportsmen's dollars. So we have these depredation hunts or greenfield hunts to try to keep the elk out of those cornfields and hay fields and wheat fields and things like that. But they kind of overlap some of these hunting seasons. So yeah, it is a concern and it's something that we'll continue working on.
Want to thank you very much for the telephone call coming up on 918. Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game, our guest this morning on Top Story. You're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com with Bill Colley. Hey, you got a couple of notes here, too, on a youth hunting season coming up, or youth hunts coming up in just October now. It's just a couple of weeks
Oh
away.
yeah, it's just right around the corner. These are really cool opportunities. What we have is we have for waterfowl on October 3rd and 4th in the Magic Valley area will be the youth waterfowl hunt. That means that youth can go out before the general season. They have a little better shot at getting those critters than that way because they're not competing with adults. And we're just trying to get these youth hooked on it. I mean, they've got so many competitions with sports and Nintendo, and half our kids are pasty white because they don't want to leave the house. And so we have these youth hunts. And so if you got a kid that's gone through hunter's ed and they want to get out and do some waterfowl hunting, get them out on October 3rd to the 4th. And then we have a youth pheasant hunt that goes from October 3rd to the 9th, and that means they can go out there and they can bag their three pheasants um, for those days during that season, or they can go out and they can take their waterfowl, ducks and geese, from the third to the fourth and the fourth. So those are some great opportunities. Eastern Idaho has an earlier waterfowl season, so if a person's really driven to get their kid out there, they can get their kid over in Eastern Idaho the week before the weekend. You can just get the waterfowl regs. Yeehaw came out yesterday. I'm not even a big waterfowl hunter, but I like to see the new regs come out. And so if folks are looking for their new waterfowl regs, get them. They're out at the vendors, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good year.
We've got more with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game coming up in just a couple of minutes. He's with us on Top Story this morning with Bill Colley on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. 54 at 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. Our studio guest, Kelton Hatch, joins us on Thursdays. Thursday once a month or so. And he's here from Idaho Fish and Game. He's a popular guy because when he's here, the phones ring a lot. That's generally a good...
That's a generally good thing.
Yeah, 922, 54. Want to thank you for joining us on Top Story this morning with Bill Colley as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We have a caller with us directly out of the break, and you're on the air with Kelton Hatch.
Yes, I've been hunting the South Hills archery for over 30 years, and the last 2 years you got to put in on the second draw for that controlled hunt now, but it's unlimited. What's the reason for that? Anybody can, if you put it on your second draw, you're guaranteed to archery hunt for that.
And that's a great question. You've got a lot more history with that unit than I do. I've been here for 13 years, and the first year I moved here, I started hunting down in the South Hills. And what we've done is I went back. I don't know whether you remember about 3 years ago before we went to that unlimited. I was starting to notice over the last several years hunting down there how many more people were showing up and how many more people were showing up in some of those areas that I like to hunt. Well, we went to the statistics on where people were putting down that they were hunting, and we had gone from 13 years ago in 2003 or 2002. It was probably 2003 was the first year I was down there. But was looking at it, we had about 230 hunters that were actually hunting in the South Hills. 2 years ago, we were at 1,300 hunters bow hunting down in the South Hills. And so we had gone and we had got a lot of complaints. We was getting a lot of complaints from our archers A lot of folks that were feeling that they were losing their quality of hunt. There's still a lot of deer down there, and we had great harvest success, but people were bumping into each other. We were getting a lot of complaints. We was having a lot of issues just with overpopulation of the number of hunters, and so that's why we scoped that. We received a positive. It was a close to a split. I think it was like 60% of the folks that voted for it, or 60% were in favor of going to a controlled second unlimited tag, and 40% weren't. It was somewhere in those numbers, and we decided to try it 1 year. It worked out really well, and that's why we did that. The precedents that we'd set from that was in Unit 72, because over in Unit 72 in eastern Idaho, we were up to about 1,900 hunters, and then when we went to this controlled hunt, it put it back down to about 300 hunters. Unit 55 right now is running into the same thing. We was about 160, 150 hunters 10, 12 years ago, and now we're pushing close to 1,200 hunters down there. So we'll probably be scoping that this year, but that's the main reason that we ended up pushing that to an unlimited, just because of quality of hunt for the sportsmen that really wanted to hunt it. They was going to make that their hunt, and so they put in for it if they don't draw their rifle, and then they get to go down there and hunt, and they don't have to hunt with quite as many people bumping into each other.
So don't you think, like, if that's a great area for people, it is a great area for archery for that I've always hunted. And once everybody starts to figure out, okay, yeah, I can put in on the second draw for that unit where the people's always hunted. Once everybody figures it out, don't you think that number is going to go back to the same?
It could very well. It could. And then if that happens, we'll put it as a first choice. But what we found in most cases on a lot of these hunts is that people want that. There's a certain group of people that are just hunters of opportunity. I'm one of them. I like to jump from unit to unit to unit to unit, and I'll start with my archery, and then I'll go to a rifle, and then maybe I'll find a late season archery hunt. I'm just wanting to be out in the woods and look at things. There's a lot of people like that, and they don't want to give up their whole season just to hunt one unit like Unit 54. There's the group of people that will be down there and hunt it, and we're setting at about 350 to 500. I can't remember exactly how many people put in for it this year. I haven't looked at the numbers. I know that numbers went up a little bit, I'd heard. But if they actually jump up higher and we start getting back to that carrying capacity issue with the number of hunters, then we'll probably make it a first choice or maybe cap it. But we hope we don't have to go to that. We're hoping we can just let people that want to hunt it continue hunting it.
I want to thank you for the call. Hey, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was reading a story the last couple of days. Sally Jewell with the Interior Department saying that she believes the western states have done a really good job when it comes to managing the sage-grouse. But there was a little snippet in one of the stories that she said if we have a government shutdown, that they may have to declare this a protected species. And I don't know how the two are related here. The governor said he's concerned too as well that they may be looking to do that.
It scares me to death because I hate seeing things listed on the endangered species list. Because once things go on the endangered species list, like if sage-grouse were to do that, we lose complete control over it. The management, and they bring in a lot of other federal protections. It's going to impact our local economy. Our goal is to maintain. People get all upset. Well, why do you still hunt them? I mean, numbers are down. Well, numbers are down, but the number that we kill with hunting is very marginal. Our goal with the hunting season on them is to keep people interested, wanting to preserve these animals or try to enhance habitat for them in order to keep them off the endangered species list. We don't want to see anything go on the endangered species list because then we lose control over it. And, even though the federal government has, they're trying to do the best thing, they can't do the best thing for Idaho. They have to use a wider paintbrush to try to cover, Wyoming and Colorado and Idaho and all the states that have these, Utah and Nevada and stuff like that. We want to be able to manage our own birds, and so we are concerned. We're very concerned about that because if they don't have the funding to monitor and do the things like that, they may just do it just to spite, just to try to err on the side of caution, and we're praying that that doesn't happen.
In other words, just to needle our 2 U.S. senators who might be involved in such a shutdown. We want to point out we got about a minute before we go to the break. We've got a couple of other topics too you wanted to touch on in the next half hour.
You bet. And so we'll do a little bit more about fishing and getting in shape for hunting, and we've got a bunch of other things to talk about. And if you got any questions, give us a holler. But um, it's pretty fun out there. Have you been out bouncing around, looking around at anything much?
Yeah.
These rains have just been marvelous. Knocked the dust down, limited our fire danger. The animals are out moving later in the day now because of the cooler weather. And so it's just the people don't think that once you have hunting season going on, you never see any animals. It's not that way, right? Or especially in a lot of these units close to Twin, they're managed so tightly on numbers and stuff like that. You can see game animals almost every morning and evening just going up for a nice drive up Rock Creek.
Kelton Hatch, our studio guest, he is joining us from Idaho Fish and Game. He's with us into the next half hour as well. If you also have a question or comment, remember, you can call us following the break at 736-0300. This is Top Story as well with Bill Colley on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com, which means you can listen to us anywhere, all over the world. Kelton Hatch joining us in studio today. We should point out that Kelton had a bit of a cold because when the fair was here, he was working 24/7.
Typhoid Mary, that's my nickname right now. Like, man, I'm about over it. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm ready to, my wife was giving me grief. I was so sick last week, and I missed a couple days. And then Saturday came along, and bird season was going on. And she says, I don't want to hear any whining when you get back that you're too sick to help out because you weren't too sick to go bird hunting for a few hours. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, okay.
You got to feed the family.
You got to feed the family, yeah. So I just sat in silence and whined about my ailments. And so, but now I'm doing better, so I'm ready for this weekend.
We have a telephone call. Caller looking to join us. Kelton Hatch in studio from Idaho Fish and Game joins us on a monthly basis. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. The number 736-0300. Our next caller is on the air. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Kelton. This is John. I live out of town, kind of up by the canyon.
Yeah.
And I have critters like coyotes and foxes and coons and stuff come mess around with my chickens and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay, so if I want to catch them, like with a trap, do I need a trapper's license?
Wow, that's a good question. I know that if you're in an area that you can shoot a rifle, you can shoot them without a hunting license.
Right.
Because they're on your private property, they're harassing wildlife. I mean, not harassing wildlife, they're harassing your domestic livestock, and so you can remove them like that. I would guess you could because we have traps that we loan out for skunks and raccoons and stuff. You come by the office, and if you get raccoon issues or skunk issues, you can pay us $25 deposit. We'll loan you one of these live traps. You can catch it and then dispose of the animal. And I would think as long as you keep your leg hold traps, if you're using those on coyotes and stuff on your property, and it was for that purpose, you'd be fine. If I'm lying, I'll tell you next month that I fib, but that's what I would go with right now because you do have the right to protect your personal property.
I want to thank him very much for the telephone call, and you're up next. You're on the air at 9:36 on KLIX with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to remind people that an orange fence post is a no trespassing sign, a painted orange fence post. I let people on to hunt my property that stop and ask. Those that don't stop and ask find a really crabby person. And so you could just emphasize that a little bit to respect private property. Hey, if you cross a fence, you're crossing onto private property usually. So just remind people of that.
You bet.
Thank you.
That's a good point. There is a no trespassing law in the state of Idaho when you're out hunting. If the land is cultivated in any way, shape, or form, like if they till it and have corn, grain, any type of crop in it, you cannot go onto that property, even if nothing's orange. The only place this gentleman's talking about is If it's on rangeland and you have a orange fence post or marked gates, they've got that posted for a reason, and you need to either find out who it is, and get permission, or just tootle on down the road and find a place where there is an orange fence post. But no, that's a very good point. When I was a kid, you could hunt almost everywhere, and we knew everybody in the valley, and so we'd always talk to them about going. I mean, I even talk to my uncles right now before I go onto their property to hunt, because it's just a respect thing for landowners so that they know who's on there. I call my brother when I'm going up to hunt his place because he knows I'm going to be up there. But well, this is, I'm going to be up here this day, so if somebody calls you, and that's me. So just do the respect, find out who the property is. People need to. That's the one thing I was talking about. Preparing, getting prepared for season. People need to be talking to landowners now instead of knocking on their door at 6 a.m. in the morning saying, "Hey, can I go hunt pheasants out on your place or go hunt ducks?" Probably going to get a bigger resounding no, because I was trying to eat my breakfast or I was still, catching a few Z's. So get out and do your due diligence and talk to folks now.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't mind if you come by and at least ask permission well in advance.
They don't, and a lot of the landowners are just great on letting a few folks in now and again to do that. Some of them have their own kids that want to hunt it, and so we have to pay respects. It's kind of like you in your backyard. You don't want somebody having a picnic and junking it up in your backyard, or digging ruts in your yard with their 4-wheel drive. Well, these landowners' land is the same way to them.
And I think, too, a lot of people out there who they have like various plants and shrubs around the house. And if you can guarantee that you can reduce some of the people, the critters that are eating all of that,
Yeah.
they'd be glad to have you out there doing it.
You bet. And sometimes, and there is issues like that too. So, but no, just get permission. Good call.
We've got more coming up with Kelton Hatch. We got to talk actually about getting in shape. I think that's physical shape, too, for hunting season, as well as he pointed out, the fishing roundup. More details on these things ahead. We're coming up on 40 minutes now after 9 o'clock, 55. Bill Colley with you, too, as well, on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Kelton Hatch is our studio guest, joining us from Idaho Fish and Game this morning. It's coming up on 9:42, 55. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. One thing I remember, and it was always predictable, Kelton, when I was a kid, hunting seasons would come along, and you knew you were going to have reports of people who'd get out there and you'd start hearing about heart attacks and the like, because of the excitement, or just people, they hadn't been active during the summer and spring.
And it happens every year. There's nothing more miserable to me than to take off on a hunt and be so sore the next day that I can't hardly walk. So that's what I'm kind of talking about this next part is, but it's just not the people. I guess I don't feel as bad for people that go out there. This is terrible to say. I sound really cold-blooded. I guess if people don't take good enough care of themselves and they get sore and hurt when they're out there, that's their fault. I'm looking at my dogs. If you're a bird hunter and you're not exercising your dog every day right now, and you're going to take him out, that's rough on those animals. They're just like you and I. They get really sore, but they don't have the opportunity to get out and run and stay in shape for a lot. I keep my dogs kenneled. I run them twice a day because I want them legged up. The same goes for your horses. You got the old paint setting out in the pen, been throwing it hay all summer long, been ridden once or twice. We call the farrier, pound some shoes on it, and then we take them 15 miles back in the mountains, and the next day they're so stiff and sore they can't hardly move. So get out, get your animals in shape. A lot of times I hunted with my horses a lot. I like to love to ride them, but a lot of times just to get myself in shape, I let them. Walking up the mountains and stuff like that. That way I got in shape.
Yeah.
And the horse got in shape. And then when I wanted to ride, I just jump on and ride. And then I could tie my horse up and go hunting. But it's just kind of all of us. We need to get ourselves in shape. We need to get, and then also be prepared. Every year we have issues with people getting lost. We spend a lot of man hours, and search and rescue does, as well as the sheriff's department and fish and game. And so tell somebody, make a plan before you go out. Tell somebody where you're going and then stick to it. Or, a lot of times nowadays you can take your cell phone and text from different areas, but just kind of know where you're at, where you're going, and make sure you're in good physical shape. Just makes the hunt so much funner. if you can go do what you want to do and you don't have to sit around and eat vitamin I. That's what I call my vitamin ibuprofen.
Yes,
And
for
so,
those muscle aches.
yeah, for the muscles, like to reduce the swelling in my knees and joints. And so just get in shape, get your animals in shape, and you'll have a lot better season.
Yeah, I think about that fellow who got lost last week, and he survived by eating all sorts of insects, and he could also pick up some small game, and that's how he did it. 59 years old, but you know what? It struck me that he must have been in great condition.
Oh, he would have had to have been, just to get out there and be able to do that type of stuff. And in the better shape you're in, the more endurance you have, and when bad crap happens like that, then you can usually get through it. And so, but it's just a good, I just always like to say that to folks to try to think about yourself, think about your animals, and get into shape because it'll be just a much more enjoyable season.
Kelton Hatch, our studio guest, and you're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Top story with Bill Colley. And of course, Kelton is here from Idaho Fish and Game. Fishing. I mean, we're 45 minutes in now to the hour. I think this is the latest we've ever talked fishing.
It is, but the thing is it's hunting season. But the thing that I like to always point out is for the true fisherman, this is the true fishing season. And the reason I say that is because all us would-be anglers, we fish when there's nothing to hunt. And as soon as hunting season, the fly rods, the fishing, the trolling rods, they're all put up. I had a buddy that he never hunted, and he was just a hardcore angler. He couldn't wait for hunting season because the lakes were cooling off. The fishing was the best it is all year in the fall, and he says, and I get rid of all those hunters that think they're fishermen. And right now is the same thing in the Magic Valley. Salmon Falls Creek is really turned on. Oakley Reservoir has been going really good. And I just anticipate these ponds getting better and better until freeze up. Late fall fishing is always the best. The fish get their meat hardens up again. They're not soft. They don't have that mushy smell that they can get, or seaweedy, or what am I think? Mossy flavors we can get in those rainbow trout can get in the summers when those waters get cold, when they start getting these cooler temperatures. But I had a friend that he's a hardcore angler out there in Kimberly, and he heads out to Salmon Dam, and he's just been killing the walleye, just having a ball out there. And I know you're a walleye angler yourself, and so
From way back.
From way back, and he says about the smallest walleye he's caught in the last 3 or 4 weeks is about 15 inches. The rest of them have been just good eaters, and so he's been having a good time. So if you're looking for something to do and hunting's not your forte and you like fishing, get out there. It's a good time of year.
I'll tell you what. When I was a kid. I know people who are deep sea fishermen because I spent 7 years on the Atlantic coast, and they'll tell me, you people who are inland fishermen, you don't know what it's like and you don't know what it's about. Look, they go out on a boat, they sit there all day fighting something till their arms are about ready. You talk about being in shape; their arms are about ready to fall off.
Yeah.
And then they can't often eat what they catch.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if growing up on, we grew up on walleye and trout and perch, and the taste is so. You're talking. I realize, other than maybe tuna and salmon, which I don't really think have a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
That there isn't really much. Sport fishing is one thing, but if you're looking for taste, what you get in lakes and streams is still the best.
Oh, I agree. There's my wife will argue with you. She likes halibut. She likes halibut, but I'm sitting here. I like that salmon. I love rainbow trout, and I eat walleye. However, walleye to me is one of those, whatever you put on it is the flavor you get. Because it's such a mild fish, bluegill, perch, bass, really mild fish, and so people that aren't fish eaters like that type of fish.
Yeah.
I didn't, where I grew up, I didn't even know there was such a thing as something other than a rainbow. But so I grew up on salmonids, any of our trout species, and so. But it's a great time of year to get out there. This is just an awesome time of year. The mountains are starting to change colors over in eastern Idaho. I was over there last week. We was getting some of the reds and the yellows. We're getting some of those first frosts. We should start seeing that up in the Magic. We've had some snow up at Galena Summit, and they had it up at Lake Cleveland the other day. I had some folks up there fishing with them, and snow up on Lake Cleveland, and so we're it's just that time of year. If you like the outdoors, this is the best time. You can get out, you don't sweat as much, there's no dust, and you just get out and have some fun.
We'll see you again in a few weeks. Very quickly, the website for Idaho Fish and Game.
If you have any questions or you're looking for any events that are going on or looking for information, just go to fishandgame.idaho.gov, and when you write it out as FISHANDGAME, it's just Fish and Game written as one word, fishandgame.idaho.gov, and that's our website. Or you can call us at the regional office at 324-4359. We're more than happy to give you any information or any help you need. Get out there and have some fun.
Mike Gallagher coming up next, brought to you exclusively by the financial advisors at Waddell & Reed in Twin Falls, 736-6563. And a thank you to Mike Gallagher, 954-55. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. You know, since we had an audience with us joining us, talking with about hunting seasons and fishing and the like, Kelton Hatch spent the last most of the hour with us, at least this morning. We want to remind you, and a lot of people who are thinking about what they're going to bring back when it comes to game, drop by High Desert Meat Processing, where they process one animal at a time. What you bring in is what you get back. Darren Van Horn, owner of High Desert Meat Processing in Twin Falls, Idaho, he has over 30 years' experience in the meat business. You can visit High Desert Meat Processing on Facebook. You can read reviews of other customers. Give High Desert Meat Processing a telephone call for all of your wild game and domestic processing needs as well, 734-9949. High Desert Meat does in-house smoking. Nothing gets shipped out. Specialty meats such as jerky, salami, summer sausage, pepperoni, breakfast sausage, kielbasa, Polish dogs, brats, hot dogs, and much more, USDA approved. Darren also works closely with local beef growers and their programs to ensure quality meat. The telephone number is 734-9949. Also, I've been telling you this week, if you didn't hear that message, then you need to call Dr. Christine Pickup. She's a doctor of audiology, Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert. Telephone number, if you'd like to reach her office, 208-312-0957. That's MountHarrisonAudiology.com. We should note, Dr. Pickup was in the studio with us Monday, and she did a wonderful job actually answering some questions from some folks who were dialing in, talking about some hearing issues they were having. Are you on medication for high blood pressure or a diuretic? Well, these medications can also affect your hearing. Hearing health is a reflection of your overall health. When you come in for a free wellness hearing screening at Mount Harrison Audiology, Dr. Pickup will review your medications and also discuss ways to protect your hearing in the future. God willing, if the creek don't rise, I get to do all of this all over again tomorrow morning. It's Friday. And then we look forward to picking it all up and doing it all over again come next Monday. I'm actually... I have been invited, the stations, one of our sister stations is sponsoring an event this weekend, and I've been invited to go hear a band called Grand Funk Railroad, which I listened to as a kid. I'll be 53 in a couple of weeks. Can you imagine when I used to sit back and chuckle about the old folks going out and listening to Frank Sinatra or big band music? I'm going out and I'm listening to something now that is pretty much akin to what I chuckled at when I was a kid. 9:57, and it's 55 this morning. Bill Colley with you. So I've got that scheduled for my weekend. That'll keep me somewhat busy. And tomorrow morning, I hope I can't say that this is a given or a done deal yet, but I'm trying to book a guest who will be talking with us about a program to support our local law enforcers. I want to bring that up just very quickly because there is a national campaign going on September 29th, which will be 1 week from next Tuesday. September 29th, there is a national campaign underway, and this is designed to honor our law enforcers and also show us support for them. And it's a blue ribbon campaign that's going on. So I'd like to get some details on this tomorrow morning on the air if we can, and how people on the local level can get involved in a situation like this. I think that it's one of those things we have to keep in mind. If we lose our law enforcers, whether it be to tragedy or they just simply get to the point where they don't want to do it anymore because of public attitudes, who's going to be there when you call for help? We didn't get to it this morning. There was a police chief who was fired in North Carolina. Gosh, I hope someone will hire him and give him a new job soon at better pay, because he went on his Facebook page and he described Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization. And he said, all lives matter. If you want to be marching in the streets for something, that's what you should be doing. And he also said if you had a group marching through the streets who were all whites and screaming as the Black Lives Matter is doing, you would have people calling for them to be locked up. So for speaking absolute common sense, he was fired from his job. This is supposed to be America. Rush Limbaugh is coming up next following the news at 10 o'clock from Fox right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX.